The 21st century boasts unprecedented technological advancements and global interconnectedness. Yet, a sinister reality festers beneath this progress: modern slavery. This abhorrent practice persists on a vast and insidious scale. It lurks in the shadows of our globalized world, hidden in plain sight. Everyday items often bear the invisible mark of forced labor. Our comfortable lives are built on the backs of those trapped in modern slavery. This is a global crisis, woven into our modern existence. Over 40 million people are ensnared in various forms of modern slavery today. These are not merely statistics. They are individual lives robbed of their freedom. Ignoring it is not an option. We must act now. Modern slavery manifests in countless insidious forms. Forced labor entraps millions in industries ranging from agriculture to construction. These individuals endure inhumane hours, meager wages, and physical abuse. Their labor fuels our global economy, providing us with cheap goods. Human trafficking preys on the vulnerable, exploiting their dreams. Women and children are often trafficked, forced into prostitution or servitude. This billion-dollar industry operates in the shadows, its victims hidden. Child labor robs millions of their childhoods, forcing them into hazardous work. These young souls toil in fields, factories, and mines, denied education. The scars of child labor can last a lifetime, trapping them in poverty. Modern slavery exists in every corner of the globe, even in affluent countries. This global scourge requires a collective effort to expose and disrupt exploitation. Modern slavery is the systematic deprivation of liberty and autonomy for exploitation. It is a crime of power, treating individuals as commodities for profit. Coercion, deception, and abuse of vulnerability trap individuals in exploitative situations. Human trafficking involves recruitment, transportation, and exploitation through threat, force, or deception. Modern slavery infiltrates industries worldwide. It thrives where labor rights are weak and corruption is rampant. From sweatshops to cocoa farms, fishing boats to construction sites, millions are trapped in exploitative conditions. Agriculture is rife with forced labor. Millions toil on farms for little or no pay. They endure grueling hours and physical abuse. The fashion industry exploits cheap labor. Garment workers face long hours and meager wages. They face verbal, physical, and sexual abuse. Domestic workers are vulnerable to exploitation. Often migrants, they perform various tasks. Their isolation makes them particularly vulnerable. Many face abuse and denial of basic rights. Despite its pervasiveness, modern slavery often operates beneath the surface, obscured by complex supply chains, deliberate obfuscation, and a culture of silence. It thrives in the shadows, its victims hidden from public view, their stories untold. This invisibility makes it challenging to identify, quantify, and ultimately combat this crime. One of the reasons modern slavery remains hidden is the complex and opaque nature of global supply chains. The products we consume often pass through multiple intermediaries, from raw material extraction to manufacturing to retail, making it difficult to trace their origins and identify points of exploitation. Companies often turn a blind eye to labor abuses within their supply chains, prioritizing profit over ethical sourcing. Another factor contributing to the hidden nature of modern slavery is the vulnerability of its victims. Many individuals trapped in modern slavery are afraid to speak out due to fear of retribution from their exploiters, fear of law enforcement, or lack of awareness of their rights. They may also face language barriers, cultural differences, or lack of access to support services, making it difficult for them to escape their situations or seek help. In the relentless pursuit of profit, industries often turn a blind eye to vulnerable workers, allowing forced labor to thrive. This exploitation impacts many sectors, seamlessly integrated into our daily lives. From food to clothes and technology, forced labor is hidden beneath layers of outsourcing. Agriculture, feeding billions, is particularly susceptible to forced labor. Plantations in developing countries rely on a low-cost workforce, creating fertile ground for exploitation. Workers are often trapped in debt bondage or subjected to inhumane conditions. Migrant workers, seeking better opportunities, are particularly vulnerable. They face language barriers and limited legal protection, making it hard to assert their rights. The global fashion industry, a multi-trillion-dollar behemoth, relies on exploitative labor practices. Fast fashion's rapid production cycles and low prices create harsh conditions for workers. Most garment workers are women and young girls, toiling in sweatshops for meager wages. The Rana Plaza disaster in 2013 highlighted the human cost of fast fashion. Supporting ethical brands and conscious choices can lead to a sustainable fashion industry. Technology has revolutionized our lives, connecting us globally and transforming how we communicate, work, and play. But this revolution has a dark side, hidden within global supply chains. The tech industry's reliance on forced labor is a stark reminder of the human cost behind our gadgets. Cobalt mining in the DRC, essential for lithium-ion batteries, is rife with human rights abuses. Child labor and dangerous conditions plague the DRC's cobalt mining industry. This cobalt often ends up in the supply chains of major tech companies. Greater transparency and accountability are needed to ensure ethical sourcing. Consumers must demand responsible practices from tech companies. Human trafficking, often dubbed modern-day slavery, is a global criminal enterprise generating billions annually by exploiting people for sex, forced labor, and other forms of exploitation. Trafficking thrives where vulnerability intersects with greed, exploiting desperation for profit. The global nature of human trafficking makes it a complex issue to address. Traffickers operate across borders, exploiting differences in laws and economies. They prey on individuals vulnerable due to poverty, displacement, or conflict. The profits are staggering, estimated in the tens of billions annually. This illicit industry rivals the illegal arms and drug trades in profitability. Human trafficking networks operate with chilling efficiency, employing sophisticated methods of recruitment, transportation, control, and exploitation. These networks are highly organized, with individuals playing specific roles from recruitment to exploitation. Recruitment often begins with deception, luring individuals with false promises of a better life. They use social media and personal connections to target potential victims. Traffickers prey on those desperate for a way out of poverty or fleeing conflict. Victims are transported far from home, making escape difficult. Transportation involves long, dangerous journeys in inhumane conditions. Victims may be hidden in trucks or shipping containers, making detection challenging. Upon arrival, victims face control through abuse, threats, and isolation. These mechanisms break victims' spirits, making them compliant. Exploitation includes forced labor, sexual exploitation, and more. Victims work long hours in dangerous conditions, with restricted movements and denied rights. Combating these sophisticated networks is a formidable challenge. The trauma endured by victims of human trafficking can have long-lasting and devastating consequences, impacting their physical, mental, emotional, and social well-being. The scars of exploitation run deep, often remaining long after the victim has been freed from their traffickers. Victims of human trafficking may experience a range of physical health problems, including injuries from physical abuse, malnutrition, sexually transmitted infections, and complications from forced abortions or unsafe medical procedures. The harsh working and living conditions, often endured by victims, can lead to chronic pain, respiratory problems, and other long-term health issues. The psychological and emotional toll of trafficking can be particularly severe. Victims may experience post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety, depression, insomnia, flashbacks, nightmares, and difficulty concentrating. The loss of freedom, dignity, and control over one's life can have a profound impact on a victim's sense of self-worth and their ability to trust others. The social stigma associated with human trafficking can also present significant challenges for survivors. Victims may face discrimination, isolation, and difficulty reintegrating into their families and communities. They may also face legal challenges, particularly if they were trafficked across borders and lack proper documentation. The road to recovery for survivors of human trafficking is long and challenging, requiring comprehensive support services that address their physical, mental, emotional, and social needs. This includes access to safe housing, medical care, mental health counseling, legal assistance, job training, and social support groups. It is essential that survivors of human trafficking are treated with dignity, respect, and compassion, and that they are provided with the resources they need to rebuild their lives and reclaim their futures. Childhood meant for laughter and learning is denied to millions trapped in modern slavery. These young souls, robbed of innocence, bear the weight of the world, fueling global markets. The International Labor Organization estimates 152 million children in labor, with 73 million in hazardous work. Thrust into dangerous environments, their tiny hands perform tasks meant for adults. They toil in fields, their hands calloused from picking cocoa, coffee, or tending tobacco. In factories, their nimble fingers assemble electronics or stitch garments for store shelves. Denied school and play, they are robbed of their present and future. Their labor leads to stunted growth, chronic injuries, and lifelong health problems. The psychological toll includes anxiety, depression, and PTSD. Their plight highlights deep-seated inequalities, where poverty and weak law enforcement foster exploitation. Their stories demand our attention, compassion, and action. The impact of child labor extends far beyond immediate suffering. It perpetuates poverty, hinders economic development, and undermines social progress. Denied education, these children lack the skills to break free from poverty. The physical and psychological scars can have lifelong consequences. Trauma from exploitation leads to mental health issues and societal integration difficulties. Addressing child labor requires tackling poverty, improving education, and strengthening labor laws. Together, we can create a world where every child can learn, grow, and reach their full potential. Our interconnected world, bound by intricate global supply chains, has brought an abundance of goods within easy reach. We live in an era of unprecedented consumer choice, where shelves overflow with products from every corner of the globe. Yet this abundance often masks a darker truth: the exploitation of vulnerable workers, including children. Our consumer choices can inadvertently fuel the systems that perpetuate this exploitation. The fast fashion industry exemplifies this complex relationship between consumerism and modern slavery. The pressure to deliver cheap, trendy clothing often leads to the exploitation of garment workers. They work long hours in unsafe conditions for meager wages, their basic rights denied. The tech industry is not immune from the taint of forced labor. The cobalt used in our gadgets is often mined under exploitative conditions. Our desire for the latest gadgets allows this exploitation to continue. Breaking the chains of complicity requires a shift in mindset, recognizing our actions have far-reaching consequences. Embrace ethical consumption, prioritizing people and the planet over profit. Educate ourselves about product origins and the true cost of our habits. Demand transparency and hold corporations accountable for human rights abuses. Support brands that prioritize ethical sourcing and fair labor practices. Advocate for stronger labor laws and fair trade practices. Support legislation to protect vulnerable workers and combat human trafficking. Hold elected officials accountable and advocate for international cooperation. Collective effort is key. Our choices can dismantle systems of exploitation. Embrace conscious consumption. Demand accountability and advocate for change. The journey through the dark underbelly of modern slavery can be disheartening, leaving one with a sense of helplessness. The scale of the problem and the often invisible nature of exploitation can feel overwhelming. However, acknowledging this global crisis gives us the impetus for action. The fight against modern slavery is a shared responsibility. Our interconnected world provides the means to dismantle these systems of exploitation. By making informed decisions, we can contribute to a more just and equitable world. Silence is complicity. Speaking out and raising awareness are essential steps. The fight against modern slavery is a marathon requiring sustained effort and commitment. The fight against modern slavery may seem daunting, but there are concrete steps that each of us can take. By becoming conscious consumers, we can support ethical businesses and products free from forced labor. Engage with businesses and demand greater accountability. Use social media to raise awareness and encourage others to join the movement for ethical consumption. Imagine a world where every person is free from exploitation, free from fear, free to pursue their dreams and live a life of dignity and opportunity. This is the world we must strive to create. A world where the inherent worth and dignity of every human being is recognized and respected. While the path to achieving this vision may be long and arduous, it is a journey we must undertake together, guided by the principles of justice, equality, and compassion. Creating a world without slavery requires a fundamental shift in mindset, a recognition that we are all interconnected and that the exploitation of one person diminishes us all. It requires us to challenge the systems and structures that perpetuate inequality, poverty, and vulnerability, creating fertile ground for exploitation. It demands that we confront our own complicity in these systems, examining our own choices and behaviors and committing to living in a way that aligns with our values. This is not a utopian dream, but a tangible goal that we can achieve through collective action, unwavering commitment, and a belief in the transformative power of human connection. By working together across borders and sectors, we can create a world where every person is free to live a life of dignity, opportunity, and hope. The road ahead may be long, but the destination is worth striving for. A world where the chains of modern slavery are shattered and all people are free to live their lives to the fullest.